Hello everybody, I am Jeffrey Hauser, author of the Learn With series. I'm currently working on an article playing around with Angular and Docker and Nginx. Nginx is a web server. I having an issue that took me a few hours to debug, wanted to sort of share how some steps I went through how to debug a Docker container. So first, this Docker file is here. Loading in from the latest Nginx version, and I'm copying my own custom Nginx config into that over that Docker config there. That's inside the Docker container. And then the last line I've commented out for the purposes of this sample, but I'm just copying the Angular build into the HTML so that the Nginx can serve it. So let's and actually I'll show you, I'm not going to go over how to create an Nginx config for this, but I want to point out the actual issue I was having turned out to be a missing semicolon. And that just made everything confusing, and it took me a while to figure out why that one typo wouldn't run. So first, I'm going to go ahead and create this new Docker image. And it's going to look like this is working perfectly, and it does. I'm going to go ahead and run it. So I'm giving it the name MyUI, port 80 externally, goes to port 80 internally, and now it looks like it's running. But if I go over to a browser, it's not going to load. The site cannot be reached. So what's going on? I do Docker PS. It is not running. So why is it not running? If I do Docker container ls, there's no containers either. A lot of the issues that you see with if you sort of Google how do I debug a Docker container, they say do Docker logs and then the container ID. But with no containers running, how do you do that? No containers listed. So that really confused me. But what I did notice inside the Docker dashboard, this thing didn't even exist when I started using Docker, but a colleague turned me on to it, and it's actually pretty useful. So this is the container that I created. I'm not sure why it's not listed at the command line. Actually, I assume if I do Docker container A, or Docker container, is it LSA? See, there it is, but it was hidden from me. So, but I found it here. And if I read through, it says line 46. So it gives me the error that it had on startup. And there's an unexpected end. And so I can go back in, and once I figured out the line number, I've been able to put that in, and now I can rebuild the Docker image. And this -a is what I was really missing. Actually, before I do this, Docker logs MyUI does actually give me the same information, which is out there a lot on the internet, and it's my fault for not trying that in advance. But you can get that same information as I just showed through the GUI. It seems with each version of Docker Desktop, the GUI gets a little better. So anyway, I'm going to rebuild a Docker container, Docker image rather. I'm going to go ahead and run it. Here, I'll run it like this. I'll just do MyUI2. Then I'm going to, now I do Docker PS. I see it running. And if I go here and load, I get the Nginx welcome screen. So now it's working. I just had one missed typo in my Nginx conf, and it was invalid and wouldn't work. So that's one way how to debug things. You can go in to this dashboard that's now part of Docker Desktop and get at the console log output, which helped me in this case debug the error. Or you can also use this command line of docker logs myui, which now I actually did delete it. So myui2. And that's how it all works.